is me. Let's make a mess and call it magic.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Vincent van Gogh collab and his 173rd birthday. So I decided to make him a cake, but not a real one out of styrofoam. So I'm just showing you what I sort of built. I wanted it to be topsy-turvy to kind of match his style, and I'm gonna mix some brown and white paint together to just get a base coat, and here it is in this little container. And I'm also going to add some Mod Podge. I am being extra super careful that this thing is sealed to the gods. But before I show you what the cake is like, I'm going to actually make some little decorations for the cake. I'm going to make some sunflowers, definitely, because that was one of my inspirations, was all of Van Gogh's gorgeous sunflower paintings. He really knew how to use his color. So I'm just painting this with mica, using some orange and gold, and just getting it all painted nicely on here. And I hope everybody's having a wonderful day for this beautiful collab. It's, as I said before, Vincent van Gogh's 173rd birthday, and he made such amazing paintings for such a tortured artist. But I'm so glad that Loula from Nerd Goblin Art suggested doing this. I sort of immediately knew what I wanted to do, combine my love of crafting and my love of baking. I love baking and decorating cakes. I've not only taken a bunch of classes, but I've made some pretty huge cakes. I made one of my really good friends' wedding cakes. So now here I am just still painting along. This took forever, but I was making sure that I got it as close as I could to how Van Gogh's coloring looked. I wasn't really going for exact, because there is no way I would have ever gotten it exact. So now I'm painting a little bit more gold on here, just to finish up filling out the flowers. And I also, while I'm talking, I want to really thank some people that have helped me just figure out the steps for this, because this was an undertaking that I didn't realize was going to be harder than it was. So I reached out to Val from Resin and Rouge, because I know she's a pastry artist, and she gave me some fantastic advice, which I did use, and you'll see that a little bit later. And also Jessica from Flow Art by Jessica. She gave me some good advice too. And as always, my best friend Georgia, who is from Flat Milligans, she did awesome. And now I don't want to forget, everybody make sure that you go and check out the playlist down below. This was hosted by Loula from Nerd Goblin Art. And here now I'm mixing some more resin to make, what am I making? Oh, I'm making some, I'm actually pouring the sunflowers. So I've got these little teeny micro beads, and I mixed several colors. I did black and brown and copper and gold to make the center of these sunflowers. And I'm very messily trying to get it in the center of these sunflowers. And I don't think I gave Loula enough props for her collab. And I'm sorry about that, Loula. My graphic went by so quick, I just sped right past it. But this is from Loula at Nerd Goblin Art, and she is an amazing artist. So you definitely make sure you check out her and all of the other videos, which I've linked in the playlist below. And here I am mixing some green. I showed you that I did blue and yellow. I was trying to be as Van Gogh as possible and not just pick some already pre-mixed color that was in my stash. And I'm popping the bubbles that are in the little beads. I mixed a little bit too hard, and a bunch of bubbles popped up. And now I'm gonna pour all of these little leaves in here. Get them as nice and pretty as possible. I don't make a mess at all. Wink, wink, nod, nod, lie, lie. Of course, I made a mess. I'm always making a mess. I call my craft room the craft vortex because it always looks like a tornado has gone off in there. And I also suffered for this. I'm not going to go into too much explanation, but on my way to the craft vortex, I decided to trip over a blanket and meet the ground with my face, and that was absolutely lovely. Enough about that. So now I'm just getting the final touches on here and trying to clean up the mold as much as possible. It got a little bit too full and they started to run together. So I'm trying to scrape it off, and now here's the cake, and I'm again showing you what I'm doing. I guess we got this clip in twice. And now I'm just futzing around with these flowers and pouring the last little bit of my resin in. And I keep futzing with these. I guess this clip is almost over. And here's where I put the rest of the resin. I'm going to make more decorations for the cake. I have this wonderful mold that actually has the happy birthday, and I'm trying to get this already thickened resin in here ever so gently and neatly, and doing a terrible job at it. But I got there in the end. I made entirely too much resin, so I started to pour all the other things that were on here, the hearts and gibbets and whatever else I could fit. And now I'm scraping, trying to clean it off, the less cleanup possible. And then I threw the rest of those little micro beads in here, and I decided, why not throw in 173? And then I eventually made the RD for the 173rd, but I don't bother to show you that. Nobody needs to see me doing this anymore. And now we get to the fun part, the demold. Get to see what it looks like. All of that hard work and painting, did it pay off? Oh, look, it came out pretty. I'm so proud. I'm so happy. The leaves are still a little bit bendy, so I gotta shove them down on the desk. But what I eventually do with this bigger one is I round it, I put it on a cup to round it so it'll fit on the cake better. And I'm gonna pull out all of these little gibbets and whatnots to get it unmolded, and then I pull out the first Y and realized, oh, it's still really, really bendy, so I put that aside and I don't bother you with me unmolding all the rest of them. And now I'm going to make a pretty cake board for it to sit on. So I'm just putting some tin foil on a circle of cardboard that I cut. That's the size of the bottom cake. And I'm going to take this, tack it over and over, and paint it around the edge, because that's pretty much the only thing you're going to see anyway. But I want to make it look pretty and, I want to make sure that this looks like a real cake that you would put on somebody's table for their birthday when you're singing to them. Because that's what this is for. We're celebrating Van Gogh and all of his gorgeous work. And not only did I use sunflowers as an inspiration, I used irises, and I used, of course, Starry Night. How to use Starry Night? I mean, hello, my channel's Moonrae Magical Designs. But, so I'm just adding some mica powder to this. And there's one more painting that was a inspiration. That's the word, inspiration. Words are so hard. But there was one more that's an inspiration, but you'll see that in a little bit. Kind of a surprise. Because I, of course, took inspiration. Let's just keep nailing that word. Inspiration, not replication. And here we go. I'm going to show you. See, I took AI and took his self-portrait and the skull with the cigarette. But if you look really closely, it's not exactly a cigarette. And now I'm making all my little houses. I decided instead of going for the actual village of Saint Remy, is that how you pronounce it? I was going to put a little bit of a magical twist on it and make a fairy village. So I found these adorable fondant molds, and I'm just putting some permastone. I don't have eco resin yet. I'm waiting till I get through this permastone. This isn't as strong, I think, as permastone, which I later found out because probably an hour after I demolded this, my lovely little orange hellion of a cat decided to jump on my desk and smash a couple of these, so UV resin to the rescue. I fixed them and got them in there, and I'm doing all of these except for that creepy little sunflower. It was a sunflower, but nope. So now I'm just scraping off the excess of this because it doesn't really matter what the back looks like anyway. It's going to be slapped up on the side of a cake. So I'm just cleaning this up and going to get it ready to put aside. And I didn't bother showing you all of the painting. I had to have it so close to my face that I could not get it on camera. So here's everybody that is going to be going on our cake. And I already got the first layer. And first I'm going to show you that I made a tree out of glue gun. 5 glue sticks to be exact. But instead of the cypress tree that Van Gogh used, I decided to go more Burton-esque, more fairy magical. And I took a tip from Loula, and I did this on the houses too. I started everything with this blue undercoat paint, so I had all of a similar undertone, and then I just layered my paint colors on top to just get it right. So now I'm going to get some brown on top of this and get it all nice and painted. It kind of looks a little green at the moment. Oh no, I forgot I added green. Now I'm going to remind you to support the algorithm mandate. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. And here we go with the spackle. And this was a different wall spackle than you normally use for, it was, I think, fast and dry or something. But it had more of a buttercream texture, and it was awesome. And it was really, really cool to work with and try and get all of the impasto, I think that's how you pronounce it, strokes, that Van Gogh used. And I went literally right over it with my acrylic paint, and I used the spackle kind of as the paint too, and just mashed it all together. And now I'm painting the spiky top and starting to add my first of the decorations. I got my happy 173rd birthday going on. And sorry for the camera angle. This was very, very hard. I was propping it up on this thing that my husband Jerry rigged, and wasn't at the greatest of angles, so you can't see it all going on as good as possible. But I'm using my tweezers to put all the teeny tiny little sunflowers and irises I made out of nail art mold and UV resin. And that's an iris, which you cannot see very well because it just immediately blends in with the blue. But it's going on there anyway, because I am not putting it on here. I worked too hard on these. So here's the whole top. And now I'm trying to heat the glue of the glue gun to get it to form a little bit better onto the cake. And now I'm going on the bottom layer to get the hills and where the houses go. And here I'm going to paint the hills, and I'm just using different mixture of greens and browns and a little bit of blues, and the spackle, basically. Just gonna paint along until it looks the way I want it to look. Back and forth, and painting under the tree. And here's some more brown, just painting along. Now I added a little bit of blue. I wasn't going for the exact coloring of Starry Night. I didn't think it would go as well with my cute little fairy houses that I'm now sticking on here. I put them a little bit farther apart and it looked weird, so I pulled them back off and smushed them together, and so you see me fixing it right there. I didn't bother to worry about what the back of the cake looks like. Nobody's going to see the back after today anyway. Or nobody's going to look anyway, because I'm going to have it up against the wall. So now I'm still trying to figure out how to get all of the cracks and crevices, make sure these houses stay put on here. We want them to last on this cake for as long as possible. I was going to pour resin over the entire top, but I was kind of afraid that it would just make things move and just mess up what I already think looks pretty good. So now I'm doing the third layer, which is going to be the sky of Starry Night, and I'm mapping out everything and getting all nice and messy, which is what I usually do in the kitchen too. Kept having to remind myself, don't lick your fingers, because this is not icing. But it's tempting. It looks good enough to eat, doesn't it? And now I'm just doing the finishing touches of just putting the glow around these stars and adding the actual star part and adding some more details and highlights all around this guy. Just try and get it looking exactly the way I want it to look. And we're painting, and we're swishing, and we're whooshing, and we're swirling. Just trying to get that windy look and the perfect glow for these stars. And get a little bit more blue going around this moon. And I also took what was left over from the final pour that I did on the painting that I'll be showing. I actually added it to all of the things that are matte, all of the sunflowers and all of the nail art sunflowers, and I even put some on the moon and the stars and the houses, which you'll see in the final shots. But here comes the fun part. I'm gonna add some sparkle. I got my marabou rainbow, and I'm gonna put it on this adorable little painting. I did not paint this. I got this printed at my local place because my printer doesn't work, and so I got it printed and I mounted it to this little canvas. And now I'm going to make my ladybug from my mommy. Always have to have a ladybug. And this time it's going to be gold leaf, which I thought would look really, really good. And so I'm going to paint it, and of course, as per usual, I
Happy
flip it upside
birthday,
down.
Van
Now,
Gogh.
enjoy
Fairy houses all glow. Twisted trees gently swaying in your yellow and blue. Happy birthday, Van Gogh. In a magical glow, with the joint in your hand and the ladybird too. Happy birthday, we red souls. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to check out the playlist.